Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? Welcome to the Get Right Fantasy Network. I'm Mike Herrick, aka Classic Mike. And tonight, first off, happy Thanksgiving to all those that are watching. I know you guys, it's a belated, but happy Black Friday too. You know, I'm here by myself, no worries. I'm going to be getting your questions answered tonight. Just a little breakdown of tonight's show. We're going to be going through the later slate of games. So we're going to be going over the Cardinals versus the Vikings, Colts versus the Patriots, Seahawks versus the Jets, Titans versus Commanders, Bucks versus Panthers, Rams versus Saints, Eagles versus Ravens, 49ers versus Bills, and Browns versus Broncos. So we're going to go through all those games tonight. We're not going to go break down what just happened on Friday Night Football. Everyone got to see what happened. A little disappointing. Kind of was hoping for a Raiders win there, but of course, the refs had something else to say. But beyond that, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. Just a friendly reminder. Make sure you guys let us know the league format and league size and all that fun stuff. Let us know if it's full, half, standard, PPR, tight end premium, all that stuff. Let us know those things just so that we have a better idea of what's going on. We also have our super chats available as well. So if you have a question you want answered right away, please use that super chat. I will stop the show just to answer your question. So if you are new to the show, make sure you guys check out our schedule. We are here 7 days a week, my friends. I know we need to update this, but it's the best one to show. We are here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I know we were off yesterday, but come on, Thanksgiving. I'm surprised I'm here. Just kidding. But either way, we are going to be here every day of the week in season. So make sure you guys check out all of our wonderful shows with our wonderful affiliates as well, with Kendall Vanderbilt from the Fantasy Football Tavern, Phil Ruskin over at the Extra Point. We got Tycoon himself over in the Fantasy Boardroom, as well as our other affiliate podcast with Cody and well, I have Zach, but I know it's Jack at the Sweet Life Sweet Life Football. So make sure you guys check out all those affiliate channels as well. All right, boys and girls, let's get started with the first game of the night. Well, that we're going to be going over. Cardinals versus the Vikings. They're going to be heading out. Cardinals are going to be heading to Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 3.5 points. Over under is 45. So there are no real notable injuries in this particular game. Everything is pretty status quo at the moment. The only big news, of course, is Daniel Jones is now a Vikings quarterback. He'll just be, there. He's not going to be involved, so not to stress about that at all. Otherwise, we've seen a little bit of a resurgence from Jordan Addison in the last few weeks. He's been used a lot more, in their particular game plan. And of course, right now, this week is going to be a rough week with these two. Both defenses are very formidable. Both have been playing very well. Both defenses have been playing great. You have Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, both facing off this week. It's going to be a very interesting game. Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hockenson, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Jordan Addison. you're playing all those guys. Those are guys that you should be starting in one way or another. Trey Benson, we're not starting yet. Those guys are must-sits in my opinion. But otherwise, that's pretty much the group that you're going to be wanting to go with. So just be aware of that. What else can I tell you about this wonderful game? Like I said, if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. I might answer them as we go instead of doing it at the very end, just to keep involved and, keep engaged with you guys. So if you guys have any questions about any of these games, please make sure you guys throw those questions in the chat. Because there's really not much to talk about with this game. The best part is that this game is going to be played indoors. There's a lot of weather stuff that's going on in the Northeast and, up north. So we are going to be talking about that in a little bit. But there's not really much else to really talk about with this game. Like I said, other than Jordan Addison getting more involved, I think he's going to see a very, big increase in his workload and what he's getting. Sam Darnold seems to like him and has been throwing him the ball. On the Cardinals side of the ball, Kyler Murray has been on and off. He hasn't really been playing to, up to his normal standards that we all love. But he's, keeping everybody engaged. James Conner had a rough night last week, but, he'll be fine moving forward. I'm not really too worried about it. If you're going to face this Vikings defense, you're going to want to face them through the air. They are very weak at corner, and one of the places to exploit is usually the their cornerbacks. Right now, Minnesota is currently 31st against wide receivers. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is a big play this week. So is Trey McBride. I definitely like these guys this week. Even maybe Michael Wilson to a lesser extent in bigger, deeper leagues. But beyond that, I can definitely see you loading them up and playing them this week. It's going to be a little bit of a rougher matchup for James Conner just because of the fact Vikings are actually pretty good on the ground. Arizona isn't that great against the run, so Aaron Jones is going to be a great addition to this week. Against the wide receiver, they're middle of the pack so far this year. So like I said, I'm loading up everybody. 45-point over-under is not a bad game to be a part of in one way or another. Let's move on to the Colts versus the Patriots. This game is the Colts are going to be visiting the Patriots up in New England. Indy is favored by 2.5, which is saying something. Over under is 42.5. Sorry, doing this myself. I need to remember these things. I know I'll have Anthony telling me banner. Just some notable injuries for this particular game. Josh Downs, he's going to be week to week. Shane Steichen said he's going to be week to week. He didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. He's out. He will be out for this particular game. Also, keep an eye on Alec Pierce. He is going to be questionable leading up to the game. Demario Douglas will also be questionable for this particular game. He's listed with an ankle injury, so just keep an eye on that. He seems to be a little bit more on the edge, more on the good side of playing than he would be on the bad side. Let's talk about some notable people here. Michael Pittman is going to be a really good play this week. If you really think about the situation, Alec Pierce being banged up, Josh Downs going down. When he got hurt during the game, he was a little bit more involved. In this case, New England is 24th against the wide receiver. If Anthony Richardson can get his shit together and start being a little bit more accurate, I think he can be very involved, and Michael Pittman might be a really good play this week. Somebody that I am a little bit down on this week is Jonathan Taylor. Now, believe it or not, let's just make sure I'm correct here. But Patriots are middle of the pack at 20th overall against the against the running back. They haven't been using him the way that I've thought they were going to be using him a little more with Anthony Richardson. A lot of his particular situations just seem to be just odd. I mean, last week was a tough matchup against Detroit. He didn't really get the run that I thought he would. 11 for 35 is not a great stat line. No, targets out of the backfield either. So honestly, it's been a little bit of a rough go the last couple weeks. He's been facing off against Buffalo, the Jets, and the Lions. Those are 2 or 3 really good matchups, but Buffalo has been letting up stuff. So, I mean, I guess the Jets and the Lions are the better 2, if you will. So he's been having a rough couple days. Hopefully he can change that around in this matchup. Like I said, I'm still playing him. He's definitely a good play. It's just very difficult to see, what's going to happen with this particular game. Another guy that I wanted to talk about real quick is, I can never pronounce his name, and I want to make sure I get it right for you guys, because, of course, Keyshawn Boutte, there we go, for the New England Patriots. Last week, he didn't do so well, but before that, he was slowly getting back involved, really involved in the passing game. He had 4 receptions off 6 targets for the 2 weeks versus the Chicago Bears and the Rams, putting up anything higher than 33 yards. He's just being a little bit more involved than we thought, especially with Demario Douglas down. It seems like seems like he's a little bit more involved. Hunter Henry is, of course, going to be a lot more involved. So Hunter Henry is a must start for sure. Anthony Richardson's another guy that I'm going to be starting. His rushing floor alone is going to be keeping him, valuable. Ramondre Stevenson, you're going to play him. It's very hard not to in most situations. He's a low end RB2. But beyond that, I don't feel comfortable playing Demario Douglas. I think he's a must sit, as well as the Colts, tight ends. I don't ever feel like playing them unless it's, absolutely necessary. And honestly, who are you going to pick? All of them seem to be involved in one way or another, but not as much with Anthony Richardson behind center. All right. So make sure you guys, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll be answering them as we go. So don't worry. Throw them in the chat and I will get to them when they're in there. Next, let's talk about the Seahawks versus the Jets. Seahawks will be coming out here to MetLife Stadium to face the Jets. That should be fun. Seahawks are favored by 0.5 point. Over-under is 42. I mean, that's not saying a lot. That it came down from 2.5 to 0.5, and it really was just because of the news that we had because of injuries. The biggest news that we had is Breece Hall. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Everybody got freaked out, and then he was limited on Thursday. And then the head coach, said he's looked great and is looking good towards playing on Sunday. He had a full practice on Friday, so limited full. Which is good, which means he should be starting. I know everybody, if you were smart enough, you picked up Braylon Allen just in case, but it looks like he should be good to go. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett were also on the report. They didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Both are good to go. Both had full practices today, so they're good to go. That's part of why that line went up a little bit. It started, went down a little bit. I think it was more Breece than anything. But the point total only went up 0.5 point. Nothing real crazy there. You're still starting guys like JSN. You're playing Garrett Wilson for sure. Devontae Adams, Kenneth Walker. All those guys should be started. I would say I'm going to be sitting guys like, Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith, unless I'm in a, super flex league. I have no problem playing Geno instead of Aaron. I definitely like that matchup a little bit better overall. I do think that Geno can do well. Both running backs are going to be top end. You don't have to worry about them. The wide receivers on both sides are great, so you're not really too worried about that. JSN is definitely a good start this week. He's going to see lesser coverage. You're going to definitely see Sauce on DK Metcalf just a little bit more. Tyler Lockett hasn't really been involved. So JSN should eat underneath, and that's how they've been playing it recently. So, I definitely see JSN as a top receiver this week. beyond that, there's really not much to talk about with this game. This game is going to be, pretty low scoring overall based on the over under. It seems like it's going to be a tighter game, and it's going to just come down to a field goal or something like that at the very end. So it should be interesting. It's going to be more defensive. So a lot of 3 and outs, a lot of back and forth. So overall, I'm definitely going to play the guys that I already listed. But other than that, probably not much else from this particular game. All righty. Moving right along here. Let's go to the Titans versus the Commanders. Titans are going to be heading out to Washington to face the Commanders. Commanders are 6-point favorites. Over under is 44.5. Injury news for this game: Brian Robinson Jr. practiced in full Friday. He's good to go. Austin Eckler is going to be he's still in concussion protocol, so he is ruled out. He was ruled out this afternoon. Tajay Spears is limited and was limited all week. He was listed as questionable. He's still in concussion protocol, but can clear as of 4 p.m. tomorrow. So just keep an eye out for that and see if he is available if you're going to need him. To be fair, I'm not playing him even if he is available. But it's just good to know. Some people that I just, wanted to bring up, real quickly. We had Will Levis. He's been playing a lot better as of late. Last few weeks, 19, 16, and 17 against, 17 points against Houston. His rushing totals are low. I thought at first he would be a little bit higher. But 10 yards, 18, 41 was the biggest against the Chargers. He's throwing 1 pick a game, which is kind of in his wheelhouse. Josh Allen's good, and he still throws a few picks every so often. So it's going to take a minute. I mean, he's he's never going to be that caliber, but just saying, a few picks isn't always a horrible thing. He had 2 touchdowns recently, so he's averaging that 1-2 touchdown per week, just over 275 yards. So overall, doing pretty well, but he's the low end, of a streaming week. So, if you're on there's no buys. So he's probably one of the better options that you have, but he's probably on the low end for me, at least. Another guy I like to talk about is his wide receiver, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Nick Westbrook has been doing very well the last few weeks, slowly moving up my particular board. He's had 11, 3, 17, and 10 points in the last few games in full PPR. He's getting targeted over roughly about 4.5, 5 times a game, getting at least 2 to 3 catches. But for 31, 117, and 44 altogether, he's had touchdowns in 2 of the last 3. Really like what he's been doing so far this year. So keep an eye on Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. On the Commanders side of the ball, someone I wanted to talk about real quick was Zach Ertz. He's been playing real well as of late. They're getting him involved a little bit more as well. Since Philly and Dallas the last 2 weeks, he's had 2 touchdowns. He's averaged at least 7 targets a game, 6 catches in each, and a little more than 35 yards or more per game. 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks isn't bad either. So he'll keep you at a steady pace. Unfortunately, his bye is in week 14. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to stream him moving forward. You might only get this chance to do it, and then next week it's going to be rough. Let's also talk about his teammate at running back. At this point, might not be much to talk about, but he will be probably the number 2 in this particular offense, in this particular run game. That's Jeremy McNichols. He's been playing pretty well as of late, stepping in when needed, and he usually, he would have been the number 1 if he was involved, if both guys were going to be out this week. But like I said, Brian Robinson Jr. should be playing without question. in this case, I mean, Jerry McNichols, I mean, he's not really touching the ball a ton. I'm not saying that you should be playing him, but he's definitely someone you should pick up and have on your bench moving forward. Austin Eckler, they do have a bye week coming up next week, so maybe not, but he's just someone to keep an eye on overall. You're playing Calvin Ridley, you're playing Jaden Daniels, playing Tony Pollard, and Zach Ertz. Terry McLaurin, you could also play as well. Everyone else, I'm kind of not good enough for me to play at this point. All righty. So like I said, make sure you guys are throwing those questions in the chat and I will get to them as we go. I'm not going to wait until the end of the show. I would love to have your questions, interact with everybody. So make sure you guys throw your questions in the chat. I'm just going to answer any questions that come through so that I can get your particular responses. I'll make sure I answer them a little bit after I give a little bit about the game that I'm going to be talking about. Next game I'm going to be talking about is the Buccaneers facing the Panthers. Over under is 46. Buccaneers are favored by 5.5 points here. This game, there isn't really any notable injuries to think of. Jalen Coker is the only one that's probably not going to play in this game. There's not really much going on in this particular situation. Rafi Bomb. This is a great question, but it's going to be Vidal. I like Vidal's situation a little bit better, just because the only person that he has facing off, otherwise is Haskins, and Haskins is more of a bruiser comparatively a pass catcher. So I definitely see Vidal being a little bit more involved. I like the matchup a lot better too. 47 point over under. They'll keep him involved, and they're going to have to spell. Definitely have to spell Gus Edwards every so often, and Haskins isn't that guy. He's more of a goal line guy when they need him. So I like Vidal just a smidge better for that game. So like I said, make sure you guys throw your questions in the chat like Rafi did so that we can get them answered. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chuba Hubbard, Xavier Legette, those three, those four guys, I am more than comfortable playing in this particular matchup. Jonathan Brooks, you're sitting him until further notice. I said it at the beginning of the year. Jonathan Brooks was not someone that you should be, grabbing in redraft. He was definitely more of an investment for Dynasty just because of, the ability of what he is. I mean, it sucks because now, Chuba has a 3-year contract or a 4-year contract that people weren't really expecting. But to be honest, it's well-deserved. I think Chuba has been playing well and really deserved that particular contract. But for redraft, you can't play him. He's on your bench until further notice. I think people were a little bit overzealous drafting him in drafts in general. I mean, he was going in like the 11th round in some drafts, which made no sense to me. I didn't think he was going to play until at least a week from, I said, and beginning of November. And, he's barely even gotten there yet. So still getting his legs wet, still getting his feet wet, still trying to get involved. But overall, just not worth playing at this point. Baker, I think, is a really good play here. I know the Panthers made Patrick Mahomes look a little bit weary. Made people feel a little bit worried about him, but honestly, they're still bottom of the barrel. They're 30th against the QB. So I think this is a smash play for Baker. I don't care if it's a division game either, or division game either. I think it's going to be a good matchup for Baker to do well. I'm actually trying to, I'm tolling in my own head against playing either Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield this week because of Josh Allen's situations. But congratulations to Josh Allen, getting engaged to Hallie Steinfeld. Good for you. But beyond that, I'm trying to figure out what's going on because Josh Allen's going to be playing in this really crappy weather game. There's going to be 2-3, there's going to be 4 or 5 inches of snow when they're playing. I mean, they've been getting snow all weekend. They're going to get snow all weekend. It's going to be a couple feet. So, I mean, and it's Sunday Night Football. It's going to be cold. It's going to be gross, and they're going to have snow accumulations throughout the day with lake effect snow. It's going to be a bad, low-scoring game if that's the case, or it could be a high-scoring game if they just keep going back and forth scoring. But overall, I'm having my own conundrum of playing a guy like Baker in a really plus matchup or playing someone like Josh Allen in a lower matchup. I might be switching to Baker. I think it's a better play in these scenarios. I think Baker overall has a great situation, and in those cases, I might be, tempted to switch. This is my dynasty league, so I have many options available, and I kind of just talked myself into doing it. So yeah, I really do like Baker in this matchup. Mike Swift, what's going on, brother? Great to have you here today. Thank you for joining the show. He goes, what's up, brother? You think I should run Amari Cooper or Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver 2? I have London at wide receiver 1 going against the number 1 team in my league this week. So I would probably be going with Marvin Harrison Jr. The matchup against the Vikings is a good one. Hopefully Arizona sees that as well and uses that to their advantage. They are 31st, if memory serves me, against the wide receiver, the Vikings. So for me, 31st. So for me, I want to exploit that particular matchup. Arizona isn't any better. Well, wait, no, Arizona's a little better. But I would still want to exploit that matchup. The weather in Buffalo, like I just said, is going to be very difficult. It's going to be snowing. It's going to be gross. I just can't see that game being productive unless, someone breaks a tackle and goes, which is definitely possible. I don't know how crazy it's going to be there. Of course, it's going to be a great game to watch. It's just going to be a rough game for fantasy, I think. So if I want the better game to be a little bit more known of what I'm doing, what I'm getting, Marvin Harrison Jr. is your guy. He's definitely a better fit for this particular week going against, the Vikings. Either way, we just talked about that game. So if you are just, tuning in, 45-point over-under is a good matchup. They're favored, which means Kyler's going to have to throw to keep up. Just like the matchup. He loves his Trey McBride. So it's kind of hard to put him there. He's technically like the wide receiver 2 there as a whole. So I would go with Marvin Harrison Jr. here. What up, Ant? Great to have you here as always. The CEO himself is in the building. So if you guys have any questions, don't worry. He will help me answer those questions in the chat if you have any. So make sure you guys are throwing those questions in the chat, and I will get to them as soon as we can. Mike goes, gotcha. Thanks a bunch. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's great QB in bad weather versus okay QB indoors. Yeah. And in most situations, I'd be telling you, like, I should be thinking that way with just kickers. But, because, quarterbacks can go through it. Josh Allen is very good in bad weather. He's played in, Wyoming. He should be fine. But it's one of those things, or North Dakota, my bad. Or no. No, it was Wyoming, right? Yeah. Anyway, so he's used to throwing in bad weather. He's got a crazy good arm. He's going to run the ball 9 times out of 10. His rushing floor is going to be great. It's going to be a sloppy game where they're going to, it's going to be a lot of throwing the ball and drops, and it's going to be aggravating. It's just a better situation. Okay, QB going against, and a good wide receiver. Cooper hasn't really played in those conditions for the most part of his career. He did play with it in Cleveland a little bit. As a Raider, he didn't really play with it as much. And as a Cowboy, not much either. So, yeah, it should be interesting. If this was like a straight up matchup between the two and both were in different scenarios, where they're both, in good weather and, domed or whatever, I'd probably aim more towards Cooper just because of the talent and everything around him. But I like Marvin Harrison Jr. here in this matchup. All right, boys and girls, let's move on to the next game in the slate, and that is the Rams versus the Saints. Rams are favored by 2.5 going out to New Orleans. Over-under is 49.5. Big over-under for this particular game. Should be interesting. Injuries to be noted of. Eric McCoy is a game-time decision. Eric McCoy, if you don't know already, is the center for the Saints. This should be a game-time decision. Jamal Williams is also limited and listed as questionable. He will be more of a game-time decision. You're starting Taysom Hill. I'm sorry, you are. I mean, in MFL, you might not. So MFL, if those don't already know, he's listed as a QB over a dual eligibility like other platforms might have Taysom Hill. But any other platform other than MFL, you are playing Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is a great addition this week. Well, unless that league has Superflex, then you can play him. But overall, I love this particular matchup for Taysom Hill. They've been saying all week how much they want to get him involved as much as possible, use him everywhere, gadget him everywhere. They're like, yeah, we are going to use him as a gadget instead of what they've done in the past where they're like, well, he's a quarterback. No, he's a tight end. No, So they're going to use him more as a gadget. Alvin Kamara, you're starting Cooper Kupp, Puka, and Kyron Williams. You're playing all of them. You're playing Matthew Stafford. But, Derek Carr is somebody I'd be sitting. Colby Parkinson, MVS, maybe. It's tough to call MVS. I mean, the guy gets 2 catches for 150 yards and, 2 catches for 140 and a touchdown or 2. So it's kind of hard to kind of get an idea of what's going to happen there. But I'm overall staying away from it unless I have something better, which you should. You should have something better than MVS at this point. There's no other receivers on the Saints that I care about. This offense runs through Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. So let's get to your questions. We got Chandler Costantino. I'm going to butcher your name. Costantino. There we go. Chandler Costantino. What's going on, brother? He goes, Purdy or Bo, 6-point passing touchdown. Ew. I'm still going Bo. Bo is going to be the better option regardless. The only time that you should be having the question of Bo sitting on your bench is if it's like Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts, like Lamar Jackson. Like those are the guys that I'm like, I don't know. Bo is definitely somebody that I consider every week as a every week starter. He should be the one above all. Purdy's hurt, going in a crappy game, coming on the East Coast too, and he was barely. They even Mike Shanahan said today. He said he's gonna play, but barring a setback, basically, and. It's one of those things like there's a lot of time between now and then, but we'll see. And I'm like, he's going to play, but I don't know if it's going to be one of those scenarios that I really want to play the hurt guy over the guy that's, definitely better. I know he was on the injury report for his back and so on and so forth. He's fine. Don't stress. He'll be fine. Next is Dallas Goedert or Evan Ingram. I like both these guys. Not going to lie. Like both. Like the matchups in both scenarios. Texas, versus Ingram versus the Texans. They're at home. Goddard on the road with the Ravens. It's just a good matchup overall. I like Ingram just a smidge better, just because I think that Trevor Lawrence coming back from injury, he's going to have to lean on his safety blanket. Dallas Goedert is third in the pecking order when it comes to everybody else on that team. It goes A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Ingram. Goddard. My bad. Wow. Had reminiscent thoughts of Giants. Anyway. So in this particular case, yeah, I'm probably going to lean Ingram in full PPR. Like him better. I do like Goddard, though. So it's good that you have both, but I'm definitely going to go Ingram in this one. Chandler also has Commanders or Broncos defense. That's a great question. I have Broncos in one league that I'm playing against the Browns. I mean, both have been good. Both have been very good, serviceable. This is a good matchup for the Titans. The over-under is a little bit lower for the Denver game. Overall, they got to stop the run. They can definitely stop the pass. Jameis Winston is known for throwing an interception or two. Same with Will Levis. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either one of these. The one that's been putting up more points usually has been the Broncos over the Commanders. So I like the Broncos just a smidge more, but it's like by one in my rankings, if you will. So I'm going to be going with the Broncos here out of this choice. Rafi goes, I have the Rams D starting all over the place. I don't know why you would. I wouldn't want to start them against the Saints. Saints have been playing well lately. But I get the idea. And they usually play pretty good at home. So that's why I don't really like playing that particular matchup. You know, I try to look anywhere else if possible. I mean, I'm in a 10 team league right now. That's very competitive. And one guy has 3 defenses. Don't ask me why. But Rams are the best available. I'm okay with that. Jets are the next one. They're okay. And then it's just a bunch of guys, a bunch of teams that I'm not really interested in having. So I don't see Washington on there, which is kind of cool. All right. Let's move right along to the next game of the week. This is the Eagles versus the Ravens. So Eagles are going to go out to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Ravens are favored by 3. Over-under for that game is 51. This is the highest game total of the week. Second to the one that we just talked about, or sorry, first to the one that we were just talking about, the Saints and Rams. They are second this particular week, right? Yeah. Notable injuries and notable things to know about. Devontae Smith is going to be out this week. Or sorry, no, he's listed as questionable. He's been limited Thursday. He was limited Friday. They don't seem very optimistic about him playing, so I would definitely go with a different option if need be, especially since this is one of the later games at 4:30. We've already had 4 games go, so I understand that pickings will be slim, but I don't know if I can play him without any real good feeling that he'll be playing. Darius Slay is also out for the Eagles. That's just good to know for the other side of the ball. That means Zay Flowers is definitely a play this week. Lamar Jackson, of course. Derrick Henry, you're playing. Zay Flowers, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews. I am very disappointed. Must sit. Guys like Deontay Johnson, please take him out of your lineup. He's been there 3 weeks, hasn't gotten a ball, hasn't gotten even anything thrown to him in one way or another. It's depressing. I said it months ago, or at least a month ago. That's where receivers go to die is Baltimore. It's uncanny. Don't get it. It is what it is. But you're not playing him. Justice Hill, somebody you should be really thinking about grabbing if you are the Henry owner. If you own Henry right now, you should be going to get Justice Hill if he is available. Simple as that. He's one of the best handcuffs to have moving forward. Guys, he can even be in some weeks, he can be a sustainable flex option. I wouldn't use him that way, but he is definitely somebody that could take on a bigger role if anything happens, which, I'm knocking on all types of wood because I have to rely on, Derrick Henry. But he is definitely somebody you want in your backfield. Kenneth Gainwell, the other guy you want for Saquon Barkley. always want to have a good handcuff this time of year, especially right before the playoffs, right when you're getting into the nitty gritty. This is when teams, slowly come down. There is a bye next week for the Ravens, just to be aware. So prepare for those matchups as well. If you're in week 13, I'm talking about a game that's not even on the thing. Boom. Sorry about that. If you have players that are in week 14, prepare for that this week. Don't wait till next week. Prepare this week. Make sure you guys have your lineup set. Make sure you have the right players that you want in. Make sure you guys are grabbing, substitutes prior to, so that you have the ability to control your particular team moving up until week 14. So you're not behind in week 14. Because if you are in that 4th or 5th place or, 6th place, based on your league, you could be losing that week and that could drop you down to out of the playoffs, because that's the last week for a lot of people. Playoffs are week 15, 16, and 17 most of the time. Some leagues, 15 is the last one. Like my one league, it's 15. So I have 1 week to make up if I had to. But you don't want to be put in that situation. So make sure you guys are grabbing who you need now. For this particular matchup, I mean, both defenses have been playing well. This is going to be a great game to watch. Really is. It's going to be a preview of what people hope and pray, might be the Super Bowl. We don't want to see Kansas City in there. Get them out. This could be another contender. I'd prefer the Lions, but, Lions Ravens would be a cool matchup to see again. Hopefully they don't get destroyed like they did last time. But I do think that overall this is going to be a fun matchup to watch. So be aware of that as well. All right, let's move on to the Sunday night game. I've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but know that this game is going to be gross. It has been already, the lines have been coming down little by little. Went from 7-6. So Buffalo is favored by 6 in this matchup at Orchard Park. Over under for this game is 44.5. That went down from 45. It might be for the weather. It might be for who's in and who's out. Brock Purdy was limited all week and then is good to go. He had a full practice today. He is listed as questionable, but he should be good to go. Nick Bosa and Trent Williams are both out as well. Another reason why I probably don't want to play Brock Purdy. Matt Milano is ramping up as well. We'll see if he's going to be available up to game time. Dalton Kincaid is out for this game, so he will not be playing again. Keon Coleman, he's questionable. He could return. He was limited all week, so it looks like he should be in a better spot and should be returning. Like I said, weather. Josh Allen, James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, those are the 3 guys that I'm okay with playing in this game. Wide receivers for both teams, it's unheard of. It's going to be hard to kind of gauge how good or bad they're going to do. Weather games like this are very difficult. The wind is a big factor. If it is snowing during the game is a big factor. There's so many things that you have to check on prior to game time. I've seen this where they tell us today on Friday that it's going to be a bad weather game, and then Sunday morning when I'm on the show, the whole field is like cleared and perfect. Just keep an eye out for everything. Keep really good attention to the beat writers for for both of these teams. You're going to have to make a decision at 1:00. Come back and join me on Sunday morning. I'll do the best I can to help you out in knowing what's going on there. I already know that they're calling for Buffalo fans to start, shoveling it out like they do all the time. So just be aware and keep cognitive of that particular scenario. But it is going to be a rough game overall. Rafi, he goes, is it just me? But the last 4 or 5 years, the 49ers seem to have more injuries than anybody all over the roster. Yeah, man. They've been having a rough time, but a lot of their injuries seem to kind of ebb and flow. They either have 4 or 5 main guys out, and then they're not out, and then they're back. And then they have 4 or 5 guys out, and then they're back. So, and they're all different at all different times. That's the weird thing. Like Christian McCaffrey being out for however long. Okay, fine. Jordan Mason was fine. Then Jordan Mason gets hurt. Then they have to throw in, Isaiah Guerrero. They always have somebody available to play. Purdy getting hurt. That's kind of a big deal for them. Nick Bosa getting hurt was a little bit of a huge deal for their defense. Fred Warner playing through an ankle injury. Broken ankle, mind you. Crazy. Very crazy. Brunson Burner, what's going on, brother? Great to have you here. Njoku or Goddard? This is a great question. I think I'm going to be leading Goddard just a smidge in this particular matchup. Right now in my rankings, I have Njoku at 6. I've Goddard at 11. So I haven't really gotten an opportunity to move my rankings around. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Holiday weekend games didn't really get an opportunity to change things. So if I had to really take a extra minute to kind of look at what I'm talking about, I'd probably be going. Yeah, they're probably right next to each other, in my opinion, maybe a little bit apart by 1. So yeah, I'd definitely be playing Goddard here over Njoku. Just like the matchup a little bit better. Baltimore has been very fruitful for tight ends as of late. They are currently 23rd. Yeah, no, I know. Well, back. Remember, he's questionable. He's limited all week, or he was limited for, I think, just Thursday and Friday. He's still nursing a hamstring. Usually when these guys are out for 1 week, and he's a speedster, like he's a guy, he can do both, but he's more of a downfield guy too. I don't think they're going to want to use him that much. They're going to ease him in. I think Goddard is more of a guy that I want available. The Broncos are actually pretty decent against the tight end. They're 14th compared to the Ravens, who are 23rd. I could give you the back and forth matchup of each. I mean, you're going to be having Kyle Hamilton going against Goddard in this particular scenario, but he's been banged up too. I mean, based on the narratives of these games, Baltimore is favored by 3. So that means the Eagles are, if you're going by that narrative, they're going to be behind and need to catch up. So when you catch up, you need to pass the ball. You're going to have to pass it to do what you need to do. I mean, they're going to do their best to run, Saquon Barkley, but Ravens are pretty decent against the running back in general. Fantasy wise, they're 9th against the running back. So in this particular case, like I said, I don't really trust that scenario. I prefer Goddard just because, kind of like what Rafi said. He says, I have Smith in a must-win game, and I'm not starting him. I can't trust that particular scenario. And like what Rafi said, like I can't trust him this week. I'm not playing him unless I have no other options below that can't really be productive or have upside to be his floor. And for me, Goddard can fill that void, and he could just be a decoy out there. Honestly, the matchup's great for wide receivers. So I have no problem with this, and they use Goddard more as a wide receiver anyway. So I do think that works out. The Broncos are just their defense is a lot better than what people give it credit for. They're right now 14th against the tight end. They haven't really faced anybody too crazy that has gone off. Njoku hasn't really been involved as much as I thought he's been. Last week, I think Jordan Atkins was more involved than Njoku. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Njoku isn't good. It's just Winston is so volatile that he can spread the ball out to a bunch of people, and his 300 yards is divvied up between 7 different receivers and tight ends. So in this matchup, it's like I said, it's going to go to AJ Brown, Dallas to Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert. Those are the 3 guys that are going to get the ball, and that line is 51.5 or 51. So I rather have points in that game than the other game. So another reason why I really like Goddard is I want to have a piece of a game that's going to be a 51 point over under than it would be for, in this case, a 41 and a half point over under. Just saying. I just prefer that. That's all. All right, let's move on to that particular game. Why not? We're already talking about it. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the next game on the slate, which is Browns versus the Broncos. Broncos are favored by 5.5 here, 41.5 point on over under. Bo Nix was on the injury report with a back injury. He was fine. I mean, come on. They're all going to be banged up this time of year. They have a bye week next week. They have to report any type of, injury, if you will. He's fine. This is going to be an interesting game to watch overall. It's Browns receivers versus the Broncos secondary, which to me, I mean, that's the Browns wide receivers have been playing real well lately. With Jerry Jeudy, he's been doing very well. Cedric Tillman's still going to be in concussion protocol, so I don't expect him to play. And then they have Elijah Moore, who's been very involved as well. So the secondary for the Broncos has been very good in fantasy-wise. They've been stopping most teams. They're 5th best against the wide receiver this year. That's a great matchup to watch. Broncos run game also that's going to be something to watch as well. Cleveland is 7th best against the running back this year. So it's going to be one of those games where I see the run games for both teams are going to be very needed. Right now, the Broncos are roughly 16th best. So it's one of those things where, Browns might be a little bit more run heavy than pass heavy, even though it's Jameis Winston. So I can still see passing going on either way. But they might want to exploit those particular matchups that they have. We'll see. I'm playing Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton is now a high-end wide receiver too. He should be played in one way or another, if you can. I had the debate of playing him or Tyreek Hill. I played Tyreek Hill. I had the choice between him and Jonathan Taylor. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor. I just feel a little bit more comfortable in that space, even though I really like the matchup for him in this particular week. Cleveland, believe it or not, is 23rd against the wide receiver. Their corners aren't as good as their pass rush. It's the only good thing that the Cleveland Browns have. So in this particular case, the lines comparatively are a little bit different. They're a little bit more of a man defense too. So this game is going to be very interesting to see that particular matchup play itself out. But I love Cortland Sutton in this matchup. Jameis Winston, I'm more sitting him than I am starting him. You start him in Superflex if you have no other options. You can start David Njoku unless you have better options like Goddard or a few other guys. Nick Chubb, I think, is a really good play this week. They're definitely getting him way more involved, and he looks a lot better than I thought he would. And they're definitely using him a lot more. Javonte Williams is definitely a must-sit. I don't trust it. That backfield changes hands every week. It's Estimate one week. It's Javonte another week. It's McLaughlin another week. I can't wrap my hand around it. And, I have Javonte in a few spots. I'm putting in a better option if I have it. Sorry, guys. Played some golf today. My throat is killing me. Oh, that's a good one too. Vele or Jalen Warren? Great question, Rafi. That's a good one. Bengals, let's see their matchup. BJ Hill's back. They're going to be down. Their favor 47 point. Okay. I usually lean wide receiver, especially, or not wide receiver, I'm sorry. I usually lean running back that are pass catchers when it comes to PPR in a flex situation. Just because they have more availability for the ball. They're going to touch it more based on rush attempts. They're also going to be involved in the short passing game, which Russell Wilson has no problem dumping it down. I think I'm going to go Jalen Warren here. I do love Vele. Very good receiver. I like what I tried to grab him in a bunch of leagues in my dynasty leagues. He's a very good receiver. I like him moving forward for them, even though he's like 26, which is crazy. Crazy to think he's a rookie that's 26. But yeah, I like both, but I'm going to go Jalen Warren here. Feel better about the matchup, his usage. They're going to be behind, so that narrative's involved. When they play from behind, they tend to use Jalen Warren just a little bit more than Najee, which is normal because Najee isn't really as good of a pass catcher, of course, and not as good as a pass blocker. So, yeah, I'm going to go Jalen Warren for sure. So that's the last game of the slate, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we had to talk about. Not much to really discuss. I definitely want your questions, so please throw your questions in the chat. I'm here for you guys. So throw those questions in the chat. I'm going to answer them. As long as I have interaction with you guys, I'm going to stay. Then we'll figure it out from there. I can't talk for 2 hours. My voice is killing me. I played golf today. It was cold. I'm feeling the effects of it. So Jose Rodriguez, what's going on, man? Great to have you on the show. If you guys are all new to the show, if anyone's watching that's new, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the show. Normally it's me and Kendall here. Kendall has, he's with his family this weekend. This is one of those situations where we're at like a skeleton crew, which is completely fine. And that's what we do. But we're always here. We always have a show 7 days a week. We want you guys involved. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Jose Rodriguez, he goes Puka, Evans, AJ. I need one wide receiver, one flex. Damn. This is a good one. Rankings, I have Puka at 5. I have Evans at 8. And I have AJ Brown at 2. So if you want to go based on my rankings, it's AJ Brown and Puka. I think all three are fucking amazing. So I'm sitting here kind of like a little jealous. But the fact that you have to sit Mike Evans in any shape, way, or form, I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but it's crazy that you have that ability. I'm definitely gonna go AJ and Puka here. Love the matchup with AJ Brown. They're gonna have to throw the ball to stay alive. Puka Nacua has been great the last few weeks, especially without Marshawn Lattimore. You can definitely throw on the Saints. Their defense hasn't looked the same. They're doing a lot to keep in games recently. The Mike Evans situation, honestly, bro. You have Evans against Carolina, who's one of the worst against the pass, one of the worst against the wide receiver, with one of the better quarterbacks in the league. It's so hard for me to sit here and tell you not to play Mike Evans. You might have to see his points on the bench, but AJ Brown is in a stellar situation. So it's hard to say. I have Nico Collins as 1, AJ Brown 2, Chase 3, Jefferson 4, Puka 5, Amon-Ra already played, Cooper Kupp, and then Mike Evans right after that. So I mean, that's my rankings there. If you guys ever want to see our rankings before shows, after shows, during shows, make sure you guys check out our website as well. We have getrightff.com. Our website has all of our rankings every week. So make sure you guys check that out if you want to see our rankings there. Joe Kingsley, what's going on, brother? Great to have you here. Hope you're having a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everybody in here is having a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Hopefully you guys had off today, or if you didn't have off, hopefully you were shopping for Black Friday. If you weren't shopping for Black Friday, hopefully you were just taking a rest from yesterday, having that turkey with family. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that if you were able to. I got to go out and play golf with my cousin, got to enjoy a wonderful day. It was his birthday yesterday, so I get to play golf and have a good time with my cousin. Shot a 92, so I'm happy with that. Oh, my God, working 3 shifts right now, or 3rd shift. Oh, sorry, brother. Overnight, but I hope you're getting holiday pay. That's the one thing. I hope you're getting a really good overtime check and a good holiday pay. What do you do, Joe? If you do anything fun, let us know. 3rd shift sounds like something I know, because it definitely sounds like a no, that's not a nursing job. 3rd shift. Man, it sounds, yeah, let me know what that is, because I'm kind of curious. So, Joe, Darnold. Oh, okay, cool. You drive a forklift that night in the lumberyard. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. My cousin is a heavy construction operator, if you will. He mans like the rollers and the for asphalt and a few other things. He works in I live on Long Island. He does like the city stuff, and he does that all the time, and he loves it. So that's awesome. Great to see you here. Thank you, Joe. We really do appreciate you being here. He goes Darnold, Stafford, or Purdy. 6 point passing touchdown plus 10-point bonus at 300 yards. If you want the guy that's going to 300, that's Stafford. Plain and simple. Stafford has the best situation to get to 300, especially with that bonus. You want that bonus. I know you want that bonus. Darnold, Purdy. I don't like the matchup for Purdy just because of the weather situation. I don't want to start him right now. Darnold is a good matchup for him against the Cardinals, against the Vikings. Vikings are good against the pass. Cardinals are good against the pass. So it's indoors, so it's a little bit different. But Stafford, I like him. I've always liked Stafford. He'll be fine. Pass rush isn't really there for the Saints. They're not really that great overall. Their defense is really falling off a little bit. Go Stafford. Like Stafford here. Rafi goes, since Tillman and Downs are out. Correct. So if you guys weren't here, I said Josh Downs is out for this game. I either have to start Algier or pick up a guy like David Moore, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Elijah Moore, or A.D. Mitchell. Okay, so you're trying to figure out who you should start out of this group. Man, I don't hate the David Moore pick. I don't. I like that David Moore pick. Falcons going against the Chargers. Chargers are relatively good against the run. What type of league is this there, Rafi? Full point, half point? That will kind of lean my, if it's half point, I might lean Algier just because I like the guy that touches the ball more, and he gets it at least 30% of the time for them. He gets 30 snaps, touches it a decent amount. David Moore, I like. They've been getting him a lot more involved. Oh, okay. Everything's full. Elijah Moore is out of it for me. I like Elijah Moore, but the matchup is not good for me, so I can't have him there. Nick Westbrook-Akine, I For some reason. I don't know what it is, but I've always had an affinity for him and always think he does well. David Moore, I think, might be a better option in this case. Let me look at his last couple numbers. I have all three of these guys ranked real low. So give me 1 sec to kind of get to them because I want to look at some numbers real quick. I haven't really dug in on David Moore yet. Really liked him in the past. He's a little bit of an older receiver at 29. I like his size, 6 foot 220. That's a good size receiver. That's kind of one of my favorites. So he had 10 receptions last week, 10 targets last week, 6 receptions, 81 yards and a touchdown against Kansas City, which is not an easy matchup. Hasn't played Tampa yet. Tampa's beat up. Defense, or at least on the defensive side of the ball. I know Tristan Wirfs is out for Baker, just for those that need Baker. So what you're hoping for is that you're getting at least 5 receptions, 50 yards, and a whole full touchdown. Because that would probably be close to my projection for him. So that's about 16 points. But if, I don't count the touchdown. So about a little under 10 for full PPRs, borderline flex. Algier is tough, man. He's going to touch the ball a little more. Let's look at his overall stat line. 1 sec. Let's look at what he's done. He's running back 37 on the year. Got -1 point last week. He's seeing just under 30% of the snaps. Hasn't scored more than 7 points in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Had the bye. Hopefully they got their shit together. Has 2 touchdowns on the year. Hasn't ran over 105 yards since the big game versus Carolina. This is a tougher matchup. Last really tough matchup he had was against Kansas City. Only got 21% of the snap share, 3.2 points, full PPR. Yeah, go David. Yeah, I don't mind David unless you don't want to drop too many, hopefully you don't have to drop anybody to pick up David Moore, but if you can pick up David Moore, I'm okay with that. I think that's a good pick. AD Mitchell's not a horrible pick either, but I prefer. Do I really say that I prefer Bryce Young over Anthony Richardson? I honestly, I think Bryce has been playing a lot better than Richardson the last few weeks. Richardson, of course, can run it, but Bryce Young has played a lot better, a lot more poised in the pocket, and seems to be passing the ball a lot better. I'm going to go David Moore. Sorry that was a long drink of, what's the saying? Long path to a small drink of water. So, yeah, I'm going to go David Moore if you can get him. Just don't drop anyone crazy to get him. That's what I would say. It's not worth it. But I think he could be good instead of Tyler Algier. All right, ladies and gentlemen, throw those questions in the chat. I'm going to wait here until you guys have no questions left, and then I'm going to be wrapping things up. First and foremost, make sure you guys check out, of course, our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, or Underdog in this case. They changed their thing. Make sure you guys use promo code GETRIGHT, and when you do, they will give you 50% of your deposit. You deposit 10, they'll give you 5. So and they'll do that up to $1,000. So make sure you guys check out Underdog and use promo code GETRIGHT. And right now they are doing their pick'ems. So make sure you guys check out. They have all different types of free picks this week. Free pick with 0.5 total yardage for Purdy. They had this for Mahomes for new customers as well. Every day they're having a new promo. So make sure you guys check out Underdog in states that allow it, of course. Make sure you guys gamble responsibly too. Also, for those that are new to the show that are still sticking around, make sure you guys check out our other shows as well. We will have a Saturday show, which is the Sweet Life Football. They will be here tomorrow. I will be here Sunday morning at 11 a.m. to help you guys with last-minute start sits for the games that we still have left after the 4 games that we had for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Then we're going to be back here Monday to help you guys getting ready for your playoff push for a lot of you. Waiver wire ads for you guys. And then Tuesday, Tycoon will be in the fantasy boardroom, as well as Wednesday. We will have, it won't be a buy low, sell high show, but it will be a roster management type show to help you guys get your rosters ready for the playoffs, as well as we have Phil on Wednesdays doing his dynasty content, and Thursday he will be doing his DFS and prop betting. So make sure you guys check out Phil Ruskin at the Extra Point. And then we are going to be back doing our split shows, the part 1 and part 2. This is part 2 this week. Just because of the holiday weekend, we decided to change things up a little bit, but nothing crazy. So make sure you guys check out our shows. We're going to have another show coming soon at one point on a Saturday. So we got all different types of things going on here at Get Right. Love what we're doing over here. So Rafi goes, it's a must win. I have to shoot for the moon. He has CMC and Jamar Chase. So I'm starting Vidal over Gus. Unless Gus blows up, I'll drop him to pick up David Moore at 3:00 game. I would be starting Gus over Vidal. I can't start Vidal over Gus. If you remember, he's been a healthy scratch for a couple weeks now. I don't think they're ready for him to come in, but I do like Vidal overall in that matchup. But I like Gus a little more. I would probably go Gus and see what happens with Vidal and then drop comparatively to the other way around. But that's just me. The David Moore pick, that's a 4:00 game. So yeah, you could get away with that. A little weird seeing Chargers playing at 1:00. Normally they're normally a later game. Rafi goes, stud performance as usual, bro. Thank you, sir. Always appreciate it. He goes, interesting. I figured Vidal would have more upside with. He will, but I think that overall Gus will be more, he'll be heavily involved one way or another. It's a closer matchup. The line is 1 and the over-under is 47. He could, but I don't see that being the case. I know Haskins isn't really a hands-on guy. Like, he's not really a possession guy. Vidal is, but he's more of a pass blocker than he is a pass catcher, if you will. He's a good player. He did well the last time he was out there. I understand why you want to do that. You can do that. That's up to you. But it's one of those, I just like Gus a little bit better. I think he has more opportunity for touches. So, all right, boys and girls, throw those questions in the chat. I'm going to be here for another couple minutes, and then I am out of here. So make sure you guys throw those questions in. Make sure, like I said, check us out on Sunday. I'll help you guys leading up to game time with actives and inactives. I'll also give you guys the news and notes from today to then. A lot of stuff we've already kind of talked about. A lot of the news reports are trying to get their news in as quick as possible so they can enjoy the weekend a little bit. I know that they've been, really getting out great information to get you guys the information as quick as possible. So just be aware of that. Other than that, I don't see a lot of questions coming through. I'm sorry. If you have more questions, save them for Sunday. I'll be here. I hope everyone has a wonderful week 13. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday weekend with your families. If you did, for those like Joe who's working, we appreciate what you do. So thank you. We appreciate what everyone does if you're working. Hope you're enjoying what you're doing. Hope everyone has a wonderful week 13, unless you're facing me, of course. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace.
Wanted to white fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.